Elizabeth II has been a queen since 1952. In that time, she has made that title utterly her own. Very few people hear the Queen and think of Margaret II of Denmark. Elizabeth II is also 91 years old at the time of this video. So there's a very high chance within the next decade that she won't be with us anymore. It might surprise you that we already know exactly what happens next. The world's governments and media have been preparing for it for decades. Let's check out why the Queen's death will be very bizarre. Number 5. Previous royal deaths have gone terribly. Despite a reputation for pomp and circumstance, previous royal funerals and ceremonies have been disasters. At the funeral of Princess Charlotte, the undertakers were drunk. George IV needed to hire prize fighters at his coronation to stop the distinguished but belligerent guests from hitting each other. It was so cold when the Duke of York was buried in 1827 that the Foreign Secretary got rheumatic fever and the Bishop of London died. Even Queen Victoria's coronation was unimpressive. The clergy forgot their words, and the coronation ring didn't fit. Even as recently as 2002, there have been significant blunders in royal ceremonies. When the Queen Mother died, over 250 commercial radio stations were unable to announce the news. The plan was to send an automated obit signal immediately after the official announcement. This would allow them to be some of the first broadcasters to break the news. However, in what one insider succinctly described as an enormous cock-up, someone pressed the wrong button and the announcement was not sent. As a result, 258 radio stations were left completely in the dark about one of the biggest news events of the year. Number 4. It will be the biggest funeral in human history. When the Queen joins the great majority, it will be the largest funeral of all time, if not the most viewed event in human history. Diana's death had more than 1 million people turning out in person to watch the funeral procession. Worldwide, there were as many as 2.5 billion people watching on TV. By all estimates, the Queen's funeral is expected to absolutely dwarf these figures. George VI had 305,000 subjects visit his coffin to pay their respects, creating a line that was 6.4 kilometers long. Current predictions for the Queen's funeral estimate at least 500,000 mourners. That's 500,000 people queuing up to enter a single room. An entire nation will alter its appearance as the royal bureaucracy kicks into gear. Public TV screens will be erected across the country so that people can watch the funeral. Almost all flags will be lowered to half-mast, and almost all businesses and shops will close. Foreign dignitaries from around the world will abandon their plans so that they can visit a tiny, wet island in the North Atlantic instead. Number 3. Everything is already planned out to the last minute. Operation London Bridge is meticulously planned out, often down to the minute. For instance, Prince Charles will be officially proclaimed king at 11 a.m. the day after the Queen's death. On the day of the funeral, Big Ben will strike at 9 a.m., and the coffin will reach Westminster Abbey's doors at 11 a.m. Outside of Britain, other governments have their secretive arrangements. Ottawa's federal government refuses to reveal their plan for the Queen's death, reserving it for cabinet ministers and senior advisors. Almost every media outlet also has drills and systems in place to prepare in case the reigning monarch assumes room temperature. Radio stations have prearranged playlists of appropriately somber music. Chris Price of BBC Radio 1 has claimed that if you ever hear the song Haunted Dancehall Nursery remixed by Sabres of Paradise, then some horrific event or major death has just occurred. TV schedules can be changed at a moment's notice to remove any risque humor on the fateful day. Comedy will still be broadcast, but most satirical or dark humor will be taken off the air. Media organizations around the world over are ready to go. For example, CNN has a number of pre-recorded packages on the Queen's life, which can be broadcast immediately after they're notified of Elizabeth's death. British newspapers like The Times are rumored to have up to 11 days' worth of articles prepared. Broadcasters Sky News and ITN have regular rehearsals and drills, referring to the Queen as Mrs. Robinson, and many channels already have contracts with royal experts for exclusive interviews. Number 2. British national identity will completely change. Huge swaths of British culture rely upon Queen Elizabeth's identity. She became queen while Truman was president of the United States and Stalin was leader of the Soviet Union. Her face adorns British currency, while her insignia sits on the uniforms of the police and the military. The British national anthem is literally named after her, God Save the Queen. All this will have to change. New currency will be printed immediately, the national anthem will change to God Save the King, passports will be replaced, military insignia will be updated, new stamps will be printed, and even minor things like mailboxes will have to be altered. When Elizabeth II became queen, mailboxes in Scotland were vandalized. This is because Scotland never had a Queen Elizabeth I, as England and Scotland were independent at the time. Scottish people were angry that English history was seen as more important than theirs. Number 1. The Commonwealth might fall apart. The Queen is not just the monarch of the UK, but also of Canada, Australia, Jamaica, and a dozen other countries. She is head of the Commonwealth, which includes nations such as India and South Africa. Her image and influence unite roughly 1/3 of the world's population, and her death may well spell the end of that unity. Australia has long had a powerful republican movement. Perhaps, a new, less popular monarch could push it over the edge. Thanks for getting to the end of the video, we hope you enjoyed it.